Inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from.
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
The struggle, the ASIS strike.
You have done your work and put us to the wall. We are not the slaves. I'm not a small boy. You should have given me the report. I have not seen the report.
Hello and a very warm welcome to Global Morning. I'm Mofwebe. Welcome you to Global Television. We're live in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. It's the start of the business week and the holidays are in, and of course the feelings all up in the air. I'm joined by my colleague Jumai Manson as always this morning. Jumai, welcome to the program. I'm sure you had a big weekend.
I did. Good morning everyone, and of course good morning to you. I had an amazing weekend, a fantastic weekend. I will say so myself. I had a meet and greet, so it was really nice.
That was a big highlight, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
All right, it's a Monday and business begins today. For those who hate their Mondays, hopefully we'll give you a reason to like yours. Maybe even love it while you're here with us for the next, 2.5 hours this morning.
Yes.
And Juma and I will make sense of a couple of issues for you. Of course, politics is big on the conversation this morning. We'll also be looking at something around illicit financial flows now that we are hearing that Africa as a continent of 54 countries now loses nothing less than $90 billion per annum to illicit financial flow. We'll talk about that with an economist in the course of the show this morning. But just a while ago, Juma and I were chit-chatting about electoral violence, electoral offenses, how that it has not only become a monster in our electoral process, but the challenge of how to address it and then the question of whether we are addressing it or not, very important, right?
Yeah, it's really unfortunate when it comes to electoral issues. I think it's something that we need to nip in the bud, and we've not gotten there yet. A lot of things happens during elections. Like I was mentioning to you, you hear violence, thuggery, politicians actually standing and actually trying to malinger when it comes to elections, all for their personal gains. And I say it without any form of apologies, all for personal gains. I say it not for the populace involved, all for personal gain. Doesn't matter how they get it or how it pulls through. Who cares? They don't even care about election or the election proper when it comes to violence and, of course, rigging of elections, which is sad.
Very sad, right? So we understand, yes, there will be mishaps during elections because of the magnitude of preparation that INEC and other stakeholders have to make towards the election, whether it's off-cycle or general election. But most times the concern that we do have is where you find actors, so to speak, politicians themselves, as big as they come, also latching onto all of these loopholes in the system to perpetrate violence. We've seen cases where even sitting governors, for example, go all out, all right, to exploit thuggery just to ensure their candidates or they themselves, for those seeking re-election, for instance, carry the day, as it were. But 3 elections readily come to mind: Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi. Questions are still being asked as to whether or not we've done a proper post-mortem about those elections. We know after every election cycle, INEC, as it's the tradition, would go back and take a look at how it conducted itself, details, where to improve, and so on and so forth. But again, whether those improvements have actually paid off, whether the efforts have paid off or not, are yet to be seen. But let's not forget in a hurry, I know you want to say something. Edo State has election next year. We also understand that Ondo State has election next year.
True to that. Well, I just pray with all of what you've said, the INEC and the process, when it comes to INEC being in depth, following the due process when it comes to elections, it's of importance. So I just pray everything just goes on well and due process is followed.
And not like due process, nothing beats due process, actually, because again, that's a way of saying that until everybody is subjected to that due process, or what you want to call rule of law. We are going to continue to have this system where balance is apparently lacking. And until we address that and plug that gap, it will always be a challenge for us as a nation. We'll be joined by somebody who is very passionate about seeing an electoral system that functions in Nigeria, one that is robust, vibrant, and can run on autopilot on many levels. He's also a lawyer, and he's passionate about seeing the kind of system that we can trust, because elections are only valuable where they are, as we say, credible, free, fair, and transparent.
Yes,
all right. So
yes.
if those 4 elements are missing, it means there will always be question marks over those. Yes, there always will be.
Yes.
Yes. Our guest will be joining us via Zoom this morning, right here in the nation's capital, Abuja. You'll meet him right after this short break. Do stay with us, everyone. Thank you for staying with us. I understand our guest is about to join us via Zoom this morning. Oladotun Hassan is the President Yoruba Council Worldwide, is a lawyer and a public affairs commentator. Just to help us raise the curtain on the conversation we're having this morning around the issue of electoral malpractices, and we want to just find insights into this narrative and see where we are, what impact it has on our electoral process. I mean, irrespective of all of the investments that we continue to make, especially from the end of the umpire, that is INEC, and they also look at what practically we can do, including bringing sincerity of purpose to address this issue this morning. Once he joins us here, we'll just get him on the show this morning. Let's see, I guess he has joined us now. Good morning, Hassan. Okay, I'm not so sure. Once we have video and audio feed, we will get him on screen for you, so we get this conversation on the road. In the meantime, we'll take another quick break and we'll be back shortly. It's a Monday, no doubt about that. And as we make several critical decisions today, there are those of us who still have to decide whether or not we want to have, want to eat, or want to have for breakfast, for dinner, lunch, and all of that. Breakfast and lunch in particular. Yeah. So, you have a word or two first, so would you rather point us in the right direction?
Well, food is of importance.
No doubt about that.
And of course, let's quickly go and watch a clip from Taste and Texture. Hope you like food.
I'm not a foodie, but I'm a fan.
Plantain, popularly called bole, is a type of food in Nigeria enjoyed by so many. Some eat this with groundnuts, some love it with sauce and fish. Bole is one food that helps at all different levels of the society. Can be eaten for lunch and sometimes dinner. You are welcome to Taste and Texture. I am Sharon Ajay. Bole is a roasted plantain street food native to the Yoruba people in the southwestern part of Nigeria, and it has become a widespread street food in other parts of the country. It's a snack that is enjoyed all over Nigeria. You cannot walk through an area without seeing shades of women who sell the snack. Bole is delicious and satisfying, especially when taken during the afternoon or evening with some chilled fruit drink or smoothie. The roasted plantain could be ripe, half-ripe, or unripe, served with a specially prepared sauce made of pepper, salt, onions, oil, and seasoning. Delicious! Another special thing about bole is the protein it is usually served with. It could be accompanied with finely seasoned roasted fish or chicken. Recently, a lot of bole vendors have revamped the meal by adding vegetable to complement the meal. Vegetable like sliced oziza leaf, uba, sliced onions, sliced fresh tomatoes. In case you're wondering what the health benefit of bole is, here you go. 1. Plantain are a very reliable source of starch and energy, especially when roasted. Secondly, plantain contain a high amount of dietary fiber, which helps ensure healthy bowels and reduces constipation. Thirdly, plantain have more vitamin C and A than bananas. It also contains powerful antioxidants. Fourthly, bananas, they too are rich sources of B-complex vitamins, particularly high in vitamin B6. Next, they contain folate, niacin, riboflavin, and thiamine, which are essential for healthy pregnancy. Also, plantain also provide adequate level of minerals such as iron, magnesium, and phosphorus. Also, plantain have more potassium than bananas. Potassium is an important component of cell and body fluids that helps control heart rate and blood pressure. Plantains have more potassium than bananas. Potassium is an important component of cell and body fluids that helps control heart rate and blood pressure. Lastly, they are diuretic and can help prevent kidney and bladder problems. They also ease the discomfort associated with the menstrual period. Yeah, that's all for today. Be sure to try it out sometime. Sharon Ajay reporting for Global TV News.
Oh, thank you, Sharon Ajay, for just getting us to salivate on the show this morning.
Like the part where I saw the stew and I was like, oh my goodness.
With the cuts of fish,
Oh my goodness. Right. Yeah, that was nice. That was nice.
It was. You know, it's interesting how bole, I mean, the way it's packaged, the way it's presented, has evolved over time. I was in Benin a year or two ago, and somebody was talking about how that there's a difference between the way bole is served in Port Harcourt and the way it's served in Benin. So the whole time he's trying to describe the sauce, the bole itself, how they chop it into small cuts, and then he's talking about the fish, you know, and the entire presentation.
Exactly.
And then you're trying to, I mean, this is you in Benin trying to imagine yourself in Port Harcourt all of a sudden. Meanwhile, you're in front of another woman who is selling the same bole, fish and sauce, you know. So I think it's interesting how we have this colorful approach to presenting bole. So, I mean, it's interesting too how that we are now beginning to, more than ever before, appreciate our own delicacies.
Yeah, true.
At the point, Nigerian jollof became a talking point. I mean, nobody thought we would get it that way.
And
yes, and we know who won.
Of course, we know who won. I know we don't have to say it for our Ghanaian listeners out there, but we know who won.
You know, that's interesting. So every other day of the week, we will bring you something about culinary delights and things that you naturally would want to see, and then just inspire you and just make your day as colorful as it can get. We'll be talking a lot of politics on the program this morning. We also will be talking economy, talking about policies around corruption, especially where systemic, endemic corruption is concerned. But I was just going to say something more about the issue of sponsorship of thuggery being one of the problems with the electoral process
that's one of the
in Nigeria.
problems.
Most times when we'll have this conversation, we'll make it look like INEC and its workers, whether the regular workers or the ad hoc staff, are immune against violence. We've seen youth corpers die while while in service for the nation, using INEC as a platform. We've seen even INEC staff, full-fledged staff die. We've seen, threats, real threats to the lives of regs and returning officers, electoral officers, and so on and so forth, which means we are all potential victims until we get to do something very pragmatic, something practical about it. That, I'm sure, Juma also raises the question of whether or not is the task we want to leave entirely to INEC.
No, I think this particular issue at hand is a tax for you and I as an individual in society. When it comes to thuggery, it's left for the individuals involved to say no to violence. I don't want to be part and parcel of what you call electoral thuggery. I want to differentiate myself. But when it comes to, people would say, because of the hardship involved, the individuals who perform these acts will tell you, and you'll be surprised it's peanuts they actually give these individuals that perform all these thuggeries, all these violence when it comes to elections. But really, they will just blame it on the economy. The economy is hard. I have to do this for my own personal gain, basically.
It's interesting. If we all have to use the economy as a basis to get ahead of ourselves, commit crimes, perpetrate violence, whether it's during or outside of election, yes, it means everybody will find a reason to get into crime. But then we must have a system that holds us to account. That's one of the things Nigeria lacks at the moment. We do not have a system that holds us to account. So people easily get away with crimes. People easily get away with all kinds of infractions, even beyond election cycle. So we must have a system where the law is such that it cuts everybody to size. The law becomes like a leveler for everyone. Until we have such a system, that so-called egalitarian society is
very true, very true. And of course, for each and every one of us to know that no one is above the law, but we don't see that in Nigeria. Obviously, people with prominence have more edge when it comes to criminalities. They get away with it.
Oh, that's sad.
In the Constitution that says an ex-convict cannot
vie for office.
Exactly, but of course we know the norms surrounding all of that. So really, the rule of law needs to kick in and come into play.
I totally agree with you on that one. We understand that our guest has joined us now. Hassan Oladitu is the president, Yoruba Council Worldwide. He's a lawyer and a political commentator. Thank you, Hassan, for allowing us to crack up your sleep a little this morning. Hello, Hassan, can you hear me? It will appear we're having a bit of hitch with audio this morning.
No, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Excellent, thank you. So I was just saying that we are grateful. We are grateful that you are allowing us to alter your schedule a little. So my colleague Juma and I are very grateful.
Good morning, Hassan.
Good morning, Juma. It's a pleasure to be on the program.
It's a pleasure to have you.
All right, so I was just going to start out by asking you, because we have about 10 minutes to do this. You and I have talked about election and electoral processes here on this program severally. But one thing we really have not talked about is the need to address offenses from the standpoint of prosecution of those who have been responsible for perpetrating these infractions. We have seen several cases where even the police have arrested and told Nigerians of how that some persons had been apprehended on account of having committed electoral offenses. Is that where it should end? Because we think, as a lawyer, you know better.
Well, it has always been a recurrent decimal when we look at the issue of electoral malpractices, electoral violence, ballot snatching, all whatnot when it comes to bribery, corruption as regards all the gamut of electoral processes in Nigeria. And this has not just been the 2023 election. It has always been a year in, year out rituals. But unfortunately, it seems the piper are the one dictating the tune of how electoral malpractices and perpetrators are being wheeled off the prosecution processes. And this has not just been it's not an accidental thing. because the perpetrators of electoral malpractices are those of our politicians that we have in various ends of affairs, from our governors to senators to House of Reps to even all of you from the presidency downward, because politicians always have one or two things. At least there's an ongoing case in Ikeja, or as regards one of the chairman of police unit, and the prosecution found him convicted, and it is just one out of many. But irrespective of the fact that if we don't have a proper prosecutory and investigative department, even if within the Nigerian police, there must be proper investigative department that deals exclusively with election offenses, electoral offenses. And there must also be a special court that revolves around election or electoral offenses, because not just the person snatching the ballot box, there is a whole process. Who is the beneficiary? If somebody snatch a ballot box and that person is being punished, what about the beneficiary of that ballot box is being declared a winner at the end of the day? Meaning they have not been, we've not achieved any processes. And these are key factors that, as one of the cardinal demand, Professor Aitari Jagad requested, that there should be restructuring before 2027 in terms of electoral laws, upping our games when it comes to our integrity and the entire processes from the candidate, from the political party to even the court. So everything we need a continuous process. And there should be proper court that has its own jurisdiction, not court composed for the purpose of election petition. So we need, because there are some continuous matter that must be determined within the gamut of that process. Because within 180 days, you cannot determine the entire investigation, the entire processes that led to one issue or the other. Even if an ordinary civil case lasts some periods, but because of due diligence prosecution, we might not be able to attain due diligence prosecution because there might be need to call witnesses, there might be need to really go into details, there might be need to equally unravel where there are forgeries of electoral results, signatures, and all this. Within 180 days, we cannot be able to align all this together. So, meaning there must be a separate court, there must be proper legislative demand from the presidency if truly we are serious with our democracy.
Being serious with our democracy now, I mean, we've been here since 1999. I mean, this current dispensation of democratic experience that we're having. And you are wondering, I mean, they say put your money where your mouth is. Nigeria spends hundreds of billions every general election cycle. If we do that, then it raises the question of why we are not able to prosecute. But I want to talk to you about key stakeholders. You have INEC, you have security agencies, most cardinal amongst them, the police. How do we find some level of synergy amongst these key actors or players, if you like, in such a way that prosecuting election-related offenses becomes a cycle like the election itself?
Well, there must be, just as we have the Independent National Electoral Commission, we have the Economic and Financial Crime, there must be a special Electoral Offenses Commission that deals with election-related offenses. We cannot leave this whole process because this is the foundation of our democracy. And if the entire process that led to us determining our democracy is left just for INEC, who is also a perpetrator in dealing with election malpractices, sometimes police are told as part of conspirators in the entire electoral offenses situation. So we look at the talks, we look at the politicians themselves. So most of the times the offender most of the time dictates how his matters is being determined from the word go, because the principal suspects are mostly not prosecuted practices. Who is found culpable? If anyone is found culpable, that political party should be sanctioned. When we don't have sanction against political party, we can never have sanction against the candidate. So, and who is to sanction who? INEC does not even have the capacity to prosecute electoral offender, because most of the times INEC officials are binga of the electoral malpractices themselves. So when we have an INEC official superintending over electoral malpractices, who is now to prosecute, and the police is the one aiding and abetting that crime to be fully committed. And in this whole scenario, who is now going to come to prosecute? It is very important we have an independent arm that will be detached from the INEC, that are detached from the Nigerian police themselves. Let us have a separate court. Let us have a separate commission that revolves to prosecute this kind of situation, because we can. It is an endless situation if we continue to look at the mirage electoral offense malpractices that cost us. It has cost us monumental loss of lives and properties. It has cost us our integrity as a nation. It has even cost us the kind of bad governance system and corruption spree we are having, because these people see election as investment. The more money they spend into coming into their seat, the more they want to recoup. At the end of the day, they leave the development at the peril of the masses, and the masses will continue to wallow in pains and fears.
Amazing points you're making there regarding this conversation. I'm afraid this is the much time would allow us take. However, we're grateful to you, Hassan Oladotun, lawyer, public affairs commentator, and president, Yoruba Council Worldwide, for coming on the show this morning.
It's a pleasure to be on our program. Thank you.
We're taking a quick break, everyone, on Global Morning. When we return, we'll bring you the AM news.